Hey guys, before we start the video, I just want to announce the winner of the $20 Amazon gift card giveaway down below. If this is you, reach out to me and I will send you the gift card. Congratulations. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're preparing for a job interview, specifically when you're trying to become a software developer, is that you focus only on the technical aspect of the interview. But many people forget that to become a successful software developer, you need much more than just the technical skills. Usually when you do an interview, it's comprised of two parts, right? There's the technical part as well as the behavioral part. It seems to me that most of the people that prepare for interviews, especially if you look online and into this kind of topic, they just focus on the technical aspect. And it's all well and good to do hundreds of questions on LeetCode, spend all your time doing medium, hard questions and preparing for that. And that is really a good thing because that is very important when it comes to getting the job. But I have realized that many people simply neglect the behavioral part of an interview. Whereas the technical part of the interview focuses on your coding skills, focuses on your problem solving. It's usually a set amount of time, could be 30 minutes to an hour of you getting a problem and then you having to use your knowledge of data structures, of algorithms, of different coding languages to solve a problem. The behavioral part is more of a deep dive into your past experiences, into times where you've thrived, times when you've failed. And it's a way for the interviewer to understand how you work in different situations. And if you crumble under the pressure, or if you're able to understand that coming to a solution requires many different attempts. And by them analyzing different aspects of your career, it gives them a better idea of how you're gonna work when the job does get stressful, or when you have to solve something that's very difficult, or times where you have to disagree with someone else to get your way. It provides a whole different aspect of your ability that they're unable to see just in the technical part. In my experience, what the behavioral interview consisted of is that you're asked different difficult parts of your career, right? So for example, you could be asked, explain the time where you attempted to work on a project and you failed. Explain the time where you've had to lead a project successfully. Stuff like, explain the time where you've had to disagree with a manager where you were right and you wanted to get your point across. Different things like this are the things that you could be asked in a behavioral interview. And honestly, I think that most people fail at this part. Yes, the technical part is very difficult, but that part has a clear path, right? You can literally just get LeetCode Premium for a month, start off with the easy questions, build up your way to hard, and just do like 100 questions, and you'll probably be able to ace the technical interview. But the behavioral interview, while a lot of people neglect it, it can be very difficult to pass, especially if you don't have the proper communication skills, if you don't feel comfortable, explaining in detail different things, or if you have a hard time communicating in general. It's actually a funny story. I went to the University of Waterloo in Canada, and the communication skills of the computer science students were so poor at one point that many companies that were recruiting interns from our school were complaining that the computer science students, while they had great technical ability and they were great programmers, they didn't have the communication skills, and oftentimes they were awkward, they weren't able to get their ideas across, and it really hindered them. So what the university did was they forced the computer science students to take communications courses to make their communications skills better. Let that sink in. An entire university, one of the biggest universities in Canada, they found it so important that their students had the right communication skills that they made it mandatory. And just think about how important it is from that perspective, and then think about an interviewer, how much they would value it as well, right? So if you can improve your communication skills, then that'll increase your odds of getting a job so much more. Now, to be fair, if I'm being completely honest, the behavioral part of the interview is probably less important than the technical one, but you do need to be able to succeed at both in order to get the job. For example, my interview at Amazon, right? It was 45 minutes of technical coding questions followed by 15 minutes of behavioral interviews, right? And every single interview was like that. So you really can't fail on a quarter of the interview, right? You probably won't get the job. You need to at least be able to succeed at the behavioral part of the interview to get the job. So I just want to emphasize that while it might be like the trendy thing to do, like if you go on YouTube, if you look up how to prepare for a technical interview, all it will say is LeetCode. But don't get too caught up on that. It is important, but you do have to prepare for the behavioral aspect. And so you're gonna ask me, John, how do I prepare, right? I'm talking so much about how important it is and how the behavioral part of the interview is so important, but I'm not telling you guys how to get better. If I was looking for a job right now and I had to prepare for a behavioral interview, I would probably go on Google and search up different behavioral type interview questions. You'll get similar questions to the ones I mentioned before, right? Like a time where you've succeeded, where you've had to lead a project, a time where you've failed, a time where you've had to disagree with like someone that is above you in seniority, things like that. You can probably find a list of like 100 questions like that. find a list, write all the questions down, and then write like an answer that you would say in the situation. Really think about all the experiences you've had throughout your career. Come up with at least one example for each different situation. Now, if you're a college student or you've never been a software developer before, you have no experience at all, think about the different projects you worked on. If you're applying to jobs, the odds are you've at least learned a language or you've built some side projects. If you haven't, then you shouldn't even be watching this video, and you should probably go do that. But think about different parts of the side projects you've built, times that were difficult, that were easy, like different new technologies you've had to build, and be able to talk about that in detail. It'll make the behavioral interview so much easier. Another way to do it is mock interviews. I personally didn't really have anyone to do mock interviews with, and I wasn't gonna go do an online service. So what you can do is just sit in front of a mirror, talk to yourself, explain these different situations, ask yourself the questions, and then just look yourself in the eye and talk like that. I think that's a proper strategy. I think that will really help you. And just be able to explain different parts of your resume in detail, because I guarantee you, if you try to explain different technical projects that you've worked on, you will probably realize that you can't explain it that well, you've forgotten certain details, and then you'll brush up on them and be that much more ready for the behavioral part of the interview. So that's a couple of things that you can do in order to prepare for the behavioral interview. I do want to emphasize how important the behavioral part of the interview is. You can get very caught up in just doing LeetCode, but don't neglect this part, because you will not get the job if you aren't good at communicating your thoughts, at being able to describe different situations, and just nailing the behavioral interview. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, leave it a like and comment down below if there's anything you agree with, if there's anything you disagree with. If you have any ideas on how to prepare for a behavioral interview yourself that I haven't mentioned, go ahead and leave it down below. And as always, I would greatly appreciate a subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. It would absolutely make my day. As always guys, take it easy and enjoy your coding.